This week on Grid Girls, we'll discuss everything that occurred at Monza, especially the podium finish for the Iron Dames. Hailie Deegan, looking at making her NASCAR Truck Series debut, we'll tell you all about that, and the upcoming weekend, including Jamie Chadwick racing at Formula 3 Regionals. Welcome to Grid Girls.
Hello everyone, welcome to Grid Girls, the women racing to win. With me, Daniel from Racers, the girls behind the helmet. My name is Joe Samaniego with the Grid Network. We're very excited to have you join us. Be sure to participate in the chat room. We'd love to hear from you. We're going to be talking about all the women in motorsports this week, including some TCR Europe racing, the upcoming NASCAR weekend, and we'll first start with ELMS, the European Le Mans Series over at Monza.
Hello everyone, good evening and good morning if you're in the US. You're right, ELMS made its fourth race weekend of the year in Monza last weekend. I had the luck of finally being there trackside after the first rounds of the championship were closed to media, of course, for the pandemic around Europe. Since they opened to a very limited number of medias, I have been lucky to finally get the chance to see them on track, on site, which is always important, I think. The two fully female teams that are competing in the European Le Mans Series were just back from the 24-hour race of the legendary 24-hour of Le Mans, which we covered in the previous weeks. The two fully females team, as we said, they finished both in the top 10 in Le Mans. The first one was the Richard Mille Racing team in LMP2, which of course is composed of Tatiana Calderon, Sofia Flörsch, and Beitske Visser, who is subbing in for the injured Catherine Legg. They are the first all-female team in the prototype category, which is very interesting. They're doing pretty well this season so far. They've had two top 10 in the opening two races in Le Castellet and at Spa-Francorchamps. The third race was again in Le Castellet, and they had a quite unfortunate weekend with a P11, even though they were much faster and they could probably aim for a top 5 position again. They did Le Mans and they were P9 at their. It's important to remember that they were all Le Mans rookies and they were all 24-hour race rookies, apart from Calderon, who had done the 24-hour of Daytona earlier this year in January. But of course, she did not get the chance to finish the race because they had a technical issue midway through the night. So none of them had previously finished a 24-hour race. They did very, very well. They are all very young racers. So coming back from Le Mans, Monza was their first race back in ELMS. And it was actually, again, the first time that they were competing all together apart from Le Mans, because Calderon had to miss the previous round in Le Castellet because she was racing also in the Japan Super Formula. Beitske had to miss the first round, and Sofia had missed the first and the second round because she was also competing in the FIA Formula 3 Championship. So this 2020 really compressed schedule from all the racing series worldwide had created these difficulties for them. So Monza was the first time that they were racing back together after Le Mans. So it's still a young team. But they did again very well. In testing, they were very competitive, and in Friday practice, they were P5 and P6 in all the sessions. And as I was there, as I said, and I had recorded a couple of audio clips from the drivers after each session. And I think we can hear Tatiana and Beitske after the Friday sessions, and they were very happy with it. I think we can hear them before.
Today, I think we've been quite competitive since we started yesterday morning in testing. So car has been getting better and better. It's actually the first race after Le Mans that we race together. So it's still a really young team. We are still getting to know each other. But I think it was a really positive start, and hopefully we can, we think if we can be top 8, so from 5th to 8th, I think it could be a really, really nice race for us. Monza has always treated me well, and I think it's one of the most interesting races because you have a lot of overtaking opportunities, but the opportunities come to you. So I think if we stay calm, do no mistakes, good consistency, the three of us, I think we can really do a good job.
So far things are going good. I think in Le Mans we learned a lot and we made a big step now. We seem to have a very good pace. So yeah, hopefully we can improve further and get a good.
Yeah, that was Weizke speaking to us after the second practice session the first practice session in Monza. They had a pretty difficult second session, not because of the pace, because they had very interesting pace, but the session was red flagged at the end in the final minutes, in the final third of the session, because of an accident from another LMP2 car, the Inter Europol LMP2 car, which basically totaled their chassis, and they had to change their chassis. That was unfortunate for the Richard Mille Racing team, because Sofia was scheduled to do the second part of the practice session, and Sofia had been a little bit faster than Tatiana and Weizke in the previous day. So the faster driver in practice had the chance then to qualify the car on Saturday. There is a very short qualifying session in ELMS, which is 10 minutes per class. So the 10 minutes in the LMP2 class were to be contested by the faster driver in the FP2, and Sofia could not take part in FP2 because of the red flag, and the session was not restarted. So Tatiana did the qualifying session because she had the faster time in FP2, and so we had a short interview from Tatiana as well after the Saturday qualifying.
Well, I think it was a bit trickier today, to be honest. For us, it changed a little bit the track conditions from this morning to the afternoon, and we put only one set of tires. So I think our spirit is more to have a good race. I think I didn't do a good enough job in quali for sure, but I think we're in the mix, and I think we can do a really good job in the race.
Yep, as Tatiana said, she was not very happy with her qualifying. They used just one set of new tires, while most of the LMP2 other competitors did another run on the new tire, on the fresher tire. So that definitely gained them a little bit of a gap. She qualified the car in P11, which was quite okay actually, and the ELMS races are 4 hours long. So as we can imagine, it's the qualifying session in European Le Mans Series or in endurance in general. It's not as important as it could be maybe in, for instance, in Formula 1 or in sprint races, as we can, of course, understand. They had the pace. That was the most important thing. So the P11 was not what they expected, but still a very important chance to gain a top 5 or top 8 position, as Tatiana said. Of course, there was also another all-female team, which was the Iron Dames. They are competing in the LMGTE class. Manuela Gosner, Michelle Gatting, and Rael Fry. It's their second season in the ELMS. Last year, again, it was their first year in European Le Mans Series as a fully female team. It's not the first time that we have a fully female GT team in that championship. But there was back in 2010. There was another team with 4 GT Matek competition, which Rahel was part of that team as well, with other 2 Swiss female racers. But but this year it was the Iron Dames' second year in the championship. They are not competing with the same team because the car is run this year by Iron Lynx, while last year it was run by Kessel Racing. They again did a P9 in Le Mans, as we said last week, which was their second year in a row that they had a top 10 finish, and that they finished the race, because it's not a lot of drivers can say that they finished the race at Le Mans. They did it in the second year in a row with no issues whatsoever, no technical difficulties, and no mistakes from the drivers, which is really impressive. Last year in Monza, they had they could do a podium positions, but they had a couple of difficulties between towards the end of the race. So it was probably their most difficult race last year in Monza. This year, again, they were fighting for a top 3, top 4 positions after practice. And Rahel got to qualify the car on Saturday. She had a little bit of a difficult session because as I said, only 10 minutes to qualify the car, which is always pretty tricky, also in traffic conditions, to trying to get a slipstream. So it was always going to be a little bit tricky. Rahel got her 2 fastest lap deleted because of track limits. So that was another challenge, one more challenge for her. Which she only had 1 lap at the very end to qualify the car, which was a little bit of a difficulty for her. And finally, she could clinch a P5 on the grid, which was quite okay. Maybe not what they expected, but pretty good for the race. And we also have the audio clip from Rahel straight after her qualifying session.
Yeah, qualifying, it was quite a mess because a lot of laps got deleted for track limits, which was a shame. For us, P3 would have been possible. In the end, we made it to P5, which is okay, but which is also not perfect. But we're going to fight back in the race. We feel confident, we feel good. But big congrats for the sister car, because
that was Rahel. She also commented on the fact that the sister Iron Lynx car got pole position. Andrea Piccini, who is also the co-founder of Iron Lynx, was also a pretty talented driver. Qualified the sister car on GTE class pole position. It was a difficult race because during the night it rained, so they all started. They had the difficult choice at the beginning of the race, which tire compound to use, both the classes, of course. It was quite difficult, and while the Iron Dames opted to go for the slicks straight away, the LMP2 Richard Mille Racing team opted for the intermediate tires. That was a pretty important decision to make straight before the start of the race, of course. Sophia Flörsch took the start from the Richard Mille team, while Manuela Gosner took the start for Iron Dames. Sophia had straight away a very, very good start. She advanced in 1 lap after the opening lap from P11 to P6, which was an amazing first lap from the young German racer. While Manuela, of course, had to be a little bit more cautious because she was starting on slicks, and she lost a couple of positions, but still she managed to keep it on track, which was the most important thing in a 4-hour race. There was a bit of a chaos in front in the LMP2 category. The second position car, which was the G Drive, a Russian team, got tagged from behind in the always tricky first chicane in Monza. They spun, they had a broken radiator. There was the pole-sitter car from United Autosport that went into the gravel on the outside, and they lost more positions. They dropped back to P13. So it was a big mess. Some other cars were running into the gravel at the second corner at Biassono. It was a very chaotic first lap, to say the least, but Sofia still managed to avoid all the chaos unfolding in front of her, and she advances to P6. And after she did very consistent first stint. She actually did a triple stint, so 2 pit stops and 3 shifts, driving shifts, before handing over the car to Beitske. Beitske, of course, when she got out on track, she was P6 again, but for quite a decent amount of time, Sofia was P4. So from P11, Sofia had an outstanding stint. She was really great in during her stint. Beitske was okay. She was lapping like 1.5 seconds slower than Sofia, but still was very good to maintain position. Unfortunately, they had a very unlucky full course yellow timing, because the full course yellow came out when the leading GTE Iron Lynx car, the pole sitting car, was crashed out at Ascari chicane by an LMP3 car, the United Autosport number 3 LMP3 car, which also received a stop and go penalty for the incident. The safety car came out, and of course Sofia had just pitted a couple of laps before, so when all the cars stopped under caution, it was a major advantage from them, and the Richard Mille Racing team lost many positions, and they were back to P10, P11, so basically back to where they started. And when Beitske went out on track, she had a little bit more work to do to recover. She was consistent though, which is the most important thing in an endurance race. And when she did a double stint, and then she handed over to Tatiana for the final third of the race. Tatiana had another triple stint, and she could advance, and she had a couple of good fights for positions. She could manage to overtake a couple of LMP2 competitors. She finished, she went high to P7 at one point, and then after another full course yellow, she again was P11. At the end of the race, they crossed the line in P11, which was okay. Of course, not great, because they had the pace to do a P5, top 5, definitely, after the first stint by Sofia. After the race, the third placed Dragon Speed car was disqualified for a technical infringement, so they advanced to P10, and it was quite good for points. Of course, another top 10. The race was won by a 1-2 from the United Autosport team that clinched the podium, the title, the ELMS title, with just one more race to go at Portimao in 2 weeks' time. And Felipe Albuquerque and Philip Anson could clinch the title, and they are the first team to win both the WEC, the World Endurance Championship, and the ELMS title in a single year. And they also won Le Mans, so mega year for them. The Richard Mille Racing ladies were happy from one side because of their performance on pace-wise. They said that it was the race where they were the closest to their competitors so far. So very good coming to the final race of the year, and of course into the next year. As we said, it's a 2-year program. Supported by the FIA Women in Motorsport Commission. But still, they could maybe have done a little bit better. So definitely a top 5 was possible for them. But that's racing. And we also have the audio clip from all 3 of them, Sofia, Beitske, and Tatiana, in their running order.
I mean, I don't know if I should be happy or not happy with this weekend, but yeah, well, started P11 and did the start, which was pretty tricky because everyone had different tire compounds, and well, the first sector and the last sector was pretty wet, but then the rest was dry. So we went for intermediates, and yeah, the start was pretty good. I mean, I was also kind of lucky and careful in the first corner because I knew there will be some stuff happening. So yeah, ready with P6 after the first 2 corners, which was pretty good. The pace was really good in the beginning. At some point, this was to slicks, which was, I think, the right moment to do so. And then I did a double stint on slicks. I think the pace was actually satisfying and pretty good.
Yeah.
could keep the position and gave the car on P6 to Beitske. In the end, we finished P11. I think luck was probably not on our side 100%, but I think we were as close as we never been this year here, so I think there could have been more in, but that's racing, and we'll see.
I think we had a good pace. We were not the full course yellow came not really at the right time for us, which was costing us a bit. But I think compared to the races before, we improved our pace a lot, and hopefully next time we are a bit more lucky with the full course yellow and with the results.
Well, I think we showed that at times that we had a really good pace. I think unfortunately we were unlucky with the strategy. After we started on intermediates, then the full course yellow came at the wrong time. But I think we should be happy with the pace we showed, and that's racing sometimes. So I look forward to Portimao and hopefully to finish on a high this year.
You haven't been to Portimao before yet?
Yes, with Formula 3, a lot of years behind, but I think it should be an interesting race for us. High downforce, so hopefully good weather, and it should be good.
That was obviously the Richard Mille Racing ladies from their last weekend in Monza. As we said, the Iron Dames were also into the race in the LM GTE class. They started P5, as we heard Rahel rounding up qualifying a couple of minutes ago. Starting from P5, they always were targeting a top 3. Manuela had the first stint. She dropped a couple of positions. She was P7 after the first minutes. Because the tricky conditions, there was still a little bit of standing water on the track after the overnight rain showers in Monza. But she could recover. She did a very, very good job as the track dried up. So Manuela managed to pass a couple of competitors in GT class and handed over the car to Rahel in P4, which was very good from Manuela. Rahel did a stint which was out of this world, really. She was outstanding, and they had like 40 to 30 seconds gap from the third place car. They were all pretty much bunched up together in the top 3. There was one Porsche and 2 Ferrari. Rahel basically gained 30 seconds and cashed up with the leading trio, and managed to pass the third placed Ferrari Spirit of Race team. And she managed to break away from the pack as well. And after her double stint, she handed over the car to Michelle Gatting for the final part of the race in P3, which was outstanding. She was most of the time she was the faster driver on track, the fastest driver on track in the GTE class. Michelle also had a very, very good opening stint. Which was she was also again the fastest on track in class, and managed to further open some gap on the fourth placed car. There was not enough time to catch the second driver in the Porsche, but still a third place was amazing, and they finished P3, which is their third podium position on this year. They were P3 in the opening race in Le Castellet, and P3 again in Spa-Francorchamps. And this is their third podium finish of the year. They are going again for another podium in Portimao. Last year they had a quite difficult weekend in Portimao because they had a lot of pace. They showed that they could be a contender for maybe for victory, for class victory in Portimao last year. But unfortunately, Manuela had a first lap incident, which it was a race-ending incident for them in the opening lap. So they were very unlucky in Portimao last year, and they were fighting also for positions in the point standings. They finished fourth after that unlucky weekend. But again, they're going again for the big points in Portimao in 2 weeks' time. And also we can hear from them after the race. We don't have the audio clip from Manuela because, of course, she's Italian, and when I recorded with her, she didn't thought about recording in English, and she recorded in Italian. So, but she was happy about her stint, about her driving shift. She was very happy, and she managed to bring the car back from P7 after the first tricky laps to P4. So she did an amazing job. She also joked that the first laps were very tricky, and she was always in a difficult position, but yeah, she was very happy, and so we can hear Rahel and Michelle from their after their stints.
So yeah, our weekend started with some difficulties, but we made it through, and in the end we finished on podium, which honestly this time I didn't expect, but we definitely take it. We take the good points for the championship. It was a happy ending. Everyone did well. Manuela, Michi, the team did well. No mistakes at all. The car was really nice to drive. We had strong pace. So yeah, as I said, happy ending. And now we go for another podium in Portimao.
Yeah, you were tested there in Portimao?
No, we won't test
Okay.
anymore. We have been there last year, so we know the track already. And now, I mean, we had a good base, or we have a good base, and I'm pretty sure that we can do another good result.
Yeah, so I came in the car. I was supposed to do the double stint towards the end, so it was 2 hours in the car. We managed to finish P3. The first stint was very good from my side. I was always one of the fastest car on track, which was quite good. The second stint was a little bit more difficult for me. I was struggling a bit more with the tires. I knew I had Matt Griffin behind me who was pushing quite a lot to catch me, but I was managing the gap quite well with support from my engineer. So I think everybody did a good job. Manu did a good start. My stint was very strong, and also my first stint, second was not too good, but we managed a P3. So yeah, I mean, Portimao last year actually was quite positive because that was the race where we were the closest to all the car. The gap were the closest. So I think we all have quite good experience with Portimao. Manu did very well last year in Portimao, despite the accident in the race where she couldn't do anything. So I think we all have a pretty good chance. Some of the fast cars are starting to get a bit heavy now due to the success ballast, which can be our benefit. And in general, we made a big step this year. We came a lot closer to the front runners. So we are fighting to finish P3 in the championship. P2 will be difficult, and of course, to fight for overall win. It's starting to be boring to finish P3 all the time. So, yeah.
And that was the ELMS round in Monza. And I'll hand it to you for a TCR Europe.
Wow. A lot going on over in ELMS Monza. Really big shout out to all the Iron Dames on that podium. And of course, part of racing, sometimes when the safety car comes out, it just doesn't work your way. And it was very unfortunate for the number 50 Richard Malel team that it didn't work this race weekend, but definitely we're all looking forward to the next race weekend. One of the things everyone was looking forward to this weekend as well was TCR Europe. Again, we had Jessica Bachmann and Michelle Halder racing, and both of them, again, having a pretty good weekend overall. Jessica had a very competitive weekend. In practice, she was up in P3 and P2, so already coming out of the gate, looking really fast. Then we entered qualifying, where qualifying Q1, she was up to P1, pole potentially. Once we got to Q2, round 2, she dropped down to P9. And then she, at the end for the second race, she came out P2. So really good start, but unfortunately, as part of racing, there's some bad luck occurred in both races. Contact with one of the teammates and finished down the racing order. So very frustrating weekend overall, considering such a promising fast start with practice, qualifying at the race when it seems to all come down to it. Just very unfortunate luck, part of racing. Michelle Halder, of course, this is her rookie season, very strong rookie season, already has one win, always all around the top 10 throughout the season. Has a DNF in race 1 due to suspension failure. Of course, the suspension, if that parts fail, that's going to make the car very hard to handle. Usually just best bet to just retire, try to come back for the second race. And that is where Michelle, mega comeback in race 2. She came back, finished 7th place. She is now 10th in the point standings for the TCR Racing Series. A pretty impressive start, especially in such a competitive series. So definitely we're going to be looking out to see what they could do throughout the racing season, because it's going to be really exciting to see what all happens. And definitely we encourage everyone, of course, as we're talking about the race car drivers, you'll see along with their pictures, their social media profiles, so you can follow them and show your support on social media. But we have still more racing, including over in the Scandinavia
There was also
series.
the TCR Scandinavian series, which is, as we said last week, has been rebranded as TCC, Scandinavian Touring Car Championship, where Mikaela Oalen-Kotulinski is racing there with the Cupra team from PWR Racing, which is a very competitive Swedish team, which is also racing in the World Touring Car TCR Championship, in the Global Touring Car Championship Series, which is like the really top of TCR Championship. Mikaela has been having quite a difficult season in 2020. Last year, she won the race, and she was always fighting for podium positions and for top 5. She was top P6 at the end of the year on points. So definitely she was expecting to fight for the title this year. Unfortunately, she had quite a more difficult season than what she expected this season. 2020 has been a very short calendar for the TCR Scandinavian series because, of course, as we said in previous episodes, not a lot of time to race in the year in Scandinavia. As with series starting very late this year, it was always very difficult to finish late. So only 4 rounds this year in TCR Scandinavia. This weekend the championship rounded out at Ring Knutstorp in Sweden. And Mikaela had a pretty good weekend in Knutstorp. She was P5 in the first race, so another top 5, which was good. P4 in the second race. She actually crossed the line in third, but after a post-race penalty, she was demoted to P4, which was again pretty strong points for the championship tally. And unfortunately, she had a DNF in the third round in Knutstorp, so it was a little bit unlucky to finish the season with DNF. And she finished the championship in 10th place in the championship standings, which was again not what she expected at the beginning of the season, but still a very, very competitive championship from Mikaela. She will definitely try to come back next season. Her best weekend was the third round, actually, where she finished on a double podium. She had a double podium finish in P3, and P7 last time out, which was just 1 week ago, actually. She had a P4 in the opening round in Karlskoga. Pretty difficult names for me to pronounce the Swedish names. Sorry for any Swedish people watching this if my pronunciation is off. And then in Mantorp she had her best weekend with the double podium. But again, she will be back next season likely. And as we previously mentioned last week, she's likely to enter the Extreme E Championship, of course, the all-electric SUV championship, which has been invented and promoted by the Formula E mastermind Alejandro Agag. So it's going to be another very interesting championship. There's been quite a few important names to test the car in the previous weeks. Also, Valtteri Bottas has tested the car. Lewis Hamilton, of course, has announced that he will be lining up a car there. Sophia Flörsch has tested the car. So pretty interesting names are trying to get involved in the new championship, which will be starting in 2021. It's pretty crazy as a concept. They will be racing in very remote areas of the world, like in Antarctica, in the Amazon forests, in Nepal, on the mountains, so in the desert, in Sahara. So it's definitely going to be interesting to watch. Of course, the championship also is targeting to reduce carbon emissions and to raise awareness on environmental issues. So it's going to be definitely interesting to see, especially after the huge success that was Formula E. It's going to be interesting for us as well because, of course, the cars, every team will line up one car with one male and one female driver. They will both, they will switch roles. The driver and the co-driver, the male and the female drivers will switch after one lap. I think it's still a little bit in the development process, this championship, but definitely we will definitely have a night out for that series. And as I said, Michaela Olen-Kotulinski will likely be involved in the championship, as she has been one of the development drivers for both the cars and the tire manufacturer that will be supplying Extreme E, which is a German brand, Continental. As we said, TCR had a pretty busy weekend with both the Europe Championship and the TCR Scandinavia, and that was it from TCR Scandinavia.
Very competitive, and of course, Extreme E is looking very competitive as well. So overall, it's going to be really exciting to see. And of course, when it comes to upcoming racers and competition, especially very competitive, we got to talk about Formula 4 and especially Abby Pullen. Overall, this weekend, Abby Pullen continues her stunning rookie campaign in the very competitive British Formula 4. She was P3 and P4 in Croft, of course, very impressive. And of course, her first victory is not too far away and likely a W Series addition, assuming they reopen the selection for this year. So overall, Abby Pullen, definitely a name to follow. Of course, we got a lot of names in Formula 4 as well, all around the world. We'll be talking about racing a little later on, but definitely we still got some more racing to recap, including some of the Polish touring car racing that occurred this past weekend.
Yep, as you mentioned, Abby Pullen in the British Formula 4. I'll just add there was also another female racer there, which was the Saudi racer Rima Jufali. She had her best result of the season with a P8 in the third race. So props to Rima as well. Coming to the Polish Touring Car Championship, they also rounded out their championship last weekend in Tor Poznan in Poland. They also had just a 4-round calendar this year, and all the rounds were contested in the same track at Tor Poznan. Tor Poznan is the local track for Gosia Rdest. Gosia, of course, the former W Series racer last year. She had a pretty decent W Series season in 2019. She was unfortunately just short of 1 point at the end of the season to get the automatic renewal of her contract in W Series to get the automatic entry in 2020. She was 13 at the end of the season. And she came back to the Polish Touring Car Championship, which is named WSMP. She has been racing there for quite some time. It's the third year in a row that she finished second in the championship. This season, of course, last season she had a partial campaign because she was also competing in W Series. This season she had the full season in the Polish Touring Car Championship. In the I have to watch it for that, because it's pretty difficult to name for the class. It's the 3.5 class, D4 3.5 class. She is racing with a Seat Leon Cup racer. She had a quite difficult season because she was always very, very fast. When she finished the races, she was also finishing the top 2. Basically, she had 2 race wins and 2 second place finishes. But she also had 2 retirements. One from a crash with another driver. It was a mistake from another driver that took her out. And another for a technical failure. She also had a very difficult weekends with failures, with engine failures. Her team definitely had to do extra work. For instance, in one round, I remember that they had to bring the car back to the workshop to fix the engine, and then come back straight away the next day to the racetrack, or in a hurry to qualify the car. So they had a pretty challenging season in the Polish Touring Car Championship this year. Quite small team, but very competitive. And Gosia again qualified the car in pole position this past weekend in the Seat Leon Cup. Under the rain, so again quite a challenging race for Gosia. She did pole position in commanding style, actually, and won the race straight away. She pulled away and never looked back. She won the first race in great style. So she was still mathematically in contention for the title. But unfortunately, she had quite a difficult second race. After claiming again another pole position on Saturday morning, her second race was not that easy. Again, like previous one on Friday, a driver that has been competing in the TCR Eastern European Series won the race in the Hyundai i30N TCR car. The driver had quite a big crash on Friday, so he was out of the race, but he was pretty competitive, and he came back on the second one, won the second race. Gosia had a very heated fight with her main competitor for the championship, Wisniewski, driving a BMW M3 car. It was quite a controversial final laps of the race. They had contact. Gosia's car reported damages at the rear end of the car. She was not happy with it, let's put it this way. She finished P3, but of course her competitor was penalized for the incident, for the contacts. It was a little bit over the line, a little bit too aggressive, and the race direction luckily demoted him from P2, and Gosia could not win the championship because of the 2 retirements that she had in previous races. She finished again vice champion, again P2 in the championship on points. It's the third year in a row that she finished second. She also, for the first time this year, competed in the endurance class on a Porsche 911 GT3 Cup. She didn't do the full season, but she finished runner-up in the championship, so that was pretty good from her. For another interesting experience from her, a new experience from her, and she will be back likely next year as usual, and maybe she will also do more championship this year. Of course, she's also doing the Alpine Elf Europa Cup in the Alpine A110 Challenger. The next and final race of the Alpine One Make Series, where also another female driver is competing there, which is the French driver Lilou Wadou. We also spoke about her in the previous episodes. They will be racing in the coming weeks. And so we will see Goja again in action there.
It'll be really exciting to see Goja and Lilu racing, both of them together, of course, upcoming talent. Speaking of upcoming talent as well, a 3-day program is underway at Paul Ricard, the FIA Women in Motorsports Rising Star Program. Within this program, 20 of the most promising female karting drivers from across the world are all competing. 12 have made the first cut. One of them, of course, will earn the opportunity for the highly respected Ferrari F1 Team Driver Academy in Maranello. Very exciting opportunity for all the women participating. It is the first program by the FIA directly at the grassroots level. So karting, of course, for folks unfamiliar, especially Europe, most places around the world, karting is the introductory level of racing. We do see some of that here in the United States. Of course, a lot of people associate the start with short track racing, which gets geared towards more IndyCar, NASCAR. But this is very big, especially with the F1 Ferrari Team Driver Academy. Daniel, for some of our viewers, who are some of the drivers that are competing at Paul Ricard?
Yeah, there are, as you said, there were 20 drivers starting the selections. They were selected by the FIA Women in Motorsports Commission. It's been a very interesting selection because, as you said, it's been the first program starting at grassroots level. And we always say that to really get to a numerical balance between genders in motorsport, the most important thing is to leverage the karting levels. So it's really important to improve at karting levels. So this program really is the nail on its head, I think, and having the support of Ferrari with the Ferrari Driver FDA, the Ferrari Driver Academy, where a lot of drivers have been coming out of that program, like Charles Leclerc, for instance, but also many other drivers that are now competing in Formula One. It's really important for the FIA to partner Ferrari for this project. And there are quite a lot of interesting talents there. After the first 3 days, 12 drivers have made the cut. Today they were again testing there, and they were joined by the Richard Mille Racing trio with Weizke Visser, and also Michel Gatting was there to see the selections program. So let's see a couple of names that were there. They were selected. Maya Weug, she's a Belgian Spanish driver, 16-year-old. One of the most interesting talents in European karting, in the European karting scene so far. She's also been part of the Richard Mille Academy in karting. She has won that program, and also been selected by ART, Birel ART, which is a major team in junior formulas in Europe. We see them in Formula 2, in Formula 3, and in many other junior formulas. So Maya definitely one to watch, and she made the cut, of course. But she's also raced in the World Karting Championship, European Karting Championship, WSK, which is one of the most important promoters in Europe for karting, and also it's also Italian. Italy, we can say that it's the mecca of karting in worldwide. There are the best teams, the best racetracks. Lonato, for instance, is the most important karting track in the world. You can go to Lonato pretty much every day and see a Formula One driver training there. So you can grasp really how important it is karting at this level. And Maya definitely has the resume to rise to the top. Also, Lola Lovin-Foss, French driver, 15-year-old driver. She's also been racing in WSK level and World Karting Championship, French Championship this year. Another very interesting driver. We both had interviews with both Maya and Lola So if you are interested in knowing more about them, you can go to our website. In the interview section. There is a whole section named Eyes on the Future, where we interviewed the most important, the most interesting, or at least the drivers that we think are the most interesting female driver in karting. Simone, who is my colleague, has been really doing a great job to interview them and to get to know them a little better in karting races in the past couple of years. And Lola definitely was on our list as well. Both Maya and Lola were on our lists. Then, of course, there is also Julia Ayub, a 15-year-old from Brazil. There are two Brazilian drivers, interestingly, in the 12 selected drivers. She was the first woman to win the Brazilian Championship in the South American Championships. She's also won the Senna Car Trophy in the lady category, so pretty interesting profile as well. Antonella Bassani is the second Brazilian driver, 14-year-old as well. South American Championship, Rolex Championships, all very interesting series in South America, where karting is pretty big as well. She has been sponsored by another female racer in the past, with former IndyCar driver Bia Figueiredo. So pretty interesting profile as well. Then we have Jessica Edgar, 15-year-old from the UK. Jessica is a cousin of Johnny Edgar, who is racing, is a Red Bull sponsored driver. He's racing in the Italian and in the German Formula 4 championships. So definitely racing is in their blood, in their DNA. Jessica is also coming up the ranks in the British, very important and very competitive British karting championships. So definitely another one to watch. Then we've got Matilda Ferreira from Portugal, two more Portuguese drivers. The second one is Mariana Machado. They are competing in national championships, so I know a little less about them so far, but definitely someone to watch. Matilda also, I think, represented Portugal in last year's FIA Motorsport Games, which were the first edition of the Motorsport Games, organized a little bit on the concept of the Olympics or the Olympic Games. There was also the karting category, and Matilda, I think, was the representative for Portugal there. So definitely a big name in national karting. Then we have Esme Kosterman, 15-year-old from the Netherlands. She has been competing in the FIA CIK Championship, Karting Championship, and Karting Academy, which is another massive championship in Europe. CIK means International Karting Championship, which is organized by the FIA, so top level in karting. Then we have Tony Naude, which is a Swiss driver who has been competing in Germany in the past year, German Junior Championships and other several WSK also. She also has the WSK entries, so pretty interesting from her. And she's the 2020 Euro. She also had a start in the 2020 European FIA Championship, so another really interesting driver. Dorian Pin, she's a 16-year-old racer from France. She was also on our lists of the female drivers to watch. She also has a couple of experiences in auto racing as well. This year, she became the youngest driver, both male and female, to enter the Renault Clio Cup in France. And she was 2019 French champion. Very, very competitive driver. Then we got Ella Stevens, 14-year-old from the UK. Ella was again one of the drivers that we wanted to interview. We didn't have the chance yet, but we'll definitely do that. it's not a new name, of course. British champion in Birel ART cadet class last year, and she's interesting because she was coached by W Series race winner Alice Powell. So definitely, and Alice has been doing a great job as a coach, not only as a driver, but also as a coach with Abby Pooling that you reported, Joe, in the British Formula 4. So Ella, definitely another driver to watch. And then finally, Lily Zug, 14-year-old, also from Germany. Lily is also another driver on the watch list. She was ADAC kart master champion last year, also starting in the WSK Supermaster in 2029. And very recently, she has been completing a couple of test sessions for Müke Motorsport in Germany for with Formula 4 cars. So definitely she is still in karting, still very young, 14-year-old racer, but already trying to make the progression to Formula 4, already with their eyes to Formula 4 championships, and in one of the most competitive series, which is the ADAC Formula 4 Championship in Germany. Those were the 12 drivers that have made the cut so far in karting, really grassroots level, as you said. We will definitely try to interview more of them. Simone, who is really an expert in this series, will try to interview them and to have a couple of more features on them in the near future.
Definitely, it's really exciting to follow young upcoming talent in auto sport, motorsports. It's always really exciting. I know we got a busy weekend coming up. We got a lot of racing going on. We'll start off with Formula 3 regionals at Monza. Can you tell us a little bit about the upcoming weekend, especially for, we heard Jamie Chadwick and in Formula 4, how that's going to be there, correct?
Absolutely. Jamie and Hamza will be back in Monza this weekend. They are already there, actually, because they were testing in the past couple of days. Jamie will be racing in the Formula 3 European Championship region, which is named Formula Regional. She's racing with the Tatus Formula 3 car, which were also employed in the W Series and the Formula 3 Asia that she raced. She is a multiple race winner in W Series and race winner in Formula 3 Asia. Unfortunately, as we said last weekend, she was racing in Mugello, and I was there. She has had a little bit of a more difficult, more challenging season this year in the Formula 3 Regional European Championship. But it's definitely she's racing with Prema, which is the top team, together with very competitive drivers, very competitive teammates. One of them is Monegasque Arthur Leclerc, the brother of the famous Ferrari Formula 1 driver. Jamie was expected to be around the top 3, top 4 for the whole season. Unfortunately, she has been struggling a little bit more on pace. She has a podium under her belt in the opening round in Misano, but after that, one more top 5 in Red Bull Ring in Austria, where my colleague Vivian was there. I've been doing the other races so far. And will be there in Monza starting from tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, there will be the first practice session at the Temple of Speed in Monza. So again, I will be heading down there for the 4th weekend in a row. And together with the Formula 3 Regional Championship, there's also the Formula 4 Italian Championship, where Hamza Al-Kubaisi, the 18-year-old Emirati racer, will be back in the Formula 4 car. It's her first full season in Formula 4. Monza is one of the 2 rounds that she did last year together with Red Bull Ring. Red Bull Ring, she had a top 10 a couple of rounds ago. So we can definitely be confident that, knowing the track already, she can have a positive weekend in Monza. Unfortunately, the weather doesn't look very promising. There has been quite a miserable weather today it's raining again. So hopefully, we heard from Honda last weekend in Mugello, 2 weeks ago in Mugello, that she was struggling a little bit because she has very little experience of driving in the rain. So hopefully the weather can give us a break starting from tomorrow in Monza. It hasn't been a very warm autumn in north of Italy, but hopefully we can have a dry couple of days starting from tomorrow. I will be there again, so hopefully we can hear directly from the drivers, and we will be reporting from them in the next episode.
Definitely looking forward to the next weekend at Monza. Of course, here in the United States, a very exciting weekend, especially over in NASCAR. Hailie Deegan is going to be making her NASCAR Gander Truck RV Series debut. She'll be driving the number 17 Ford, fielded by Drew Blickenderfer Racing. Excuse me, that is the crew chief for the race team this upcoming weekend. It's going to be the number 17 Ford pickup truck. We're very excited, as well as many fans across the United States, to see Hailie Deegan. Of course, she's been really getting a lot of media attention for what she has done in the ARCA West Series last year, third in the ARCA Series this year. So overall, a lot of folks are really excited about Hailie Deegan. Of course, the trucks, they're going to be racing at Kansas Speedway this upcoming race weekend. So it's going to be very exciting. Of course, the trucks are already in their playoff system. NASCAR used a playoff format to determine their championship. So even though Hailie's going to be still racing it, she's not part of a championship battle. It's going to be the Clean Harbors 200 at Kansas. And at Kansas as well will be Jennifer Jo Cobb. She's coming off a pretty successful weekend at Talladega, was the driver to be the second most number of laps at the race. Had she led 3 more laps, she would have led the most laps of the race, and she could have been the first female driver to lead the most laps in a NASCAR race. She's, again, hoping to carry some of that positive momentum forward. Especially Kansas is going to be a really tough track. Kansas is a 1.5-mile tri-oval, very common in NASCAR, but it is very treacherous. We've seen a lot of top caliber drivers, including some of the best in the business. NASCAR Cup Series legend, 7-time champion Jimmy Johnson had crashed hard there a couple times. So this is a very treacherous track, and for Hailie Deegan to start at Kansas with no practice, no qualifying, it's going to be really a big challenge for her. Everybody's going to be following what her, Jennifer Jo Cobb, could do. The good news, an update on Natalie Decker. She has been cleared to race for Martinsville. She is not in the entry list for Kansas Speedway, but definitely Martinsville. Be good to see her back on the track. I know a lot of her fans have been following her on social media. She started posting videos on social media when she got the medical clearance, especially for coming back to the racing. So a lot of folks are going to be turning in, seeing how well she does her first race back. And of course, you can always follow racers, the girls behind the helmet. They have a full calendar of all the upcoming races. And we understand over at the Red Bull Ring, we're going to see Simona De Silvestro compete for that elusive podium.
Yes, exactly. The ADAC GT Masters will be back at the Red Bull Ring, where Simona De Silvestro will try to finally get that podium that this year has eluded her in the Porsche GT3. Of course, the ADAC GT Masters, as we previously said in last week's, is the top GT3 championship in Germany, and it's one of the most competitive around Europe, actually. So Simona De Silvestro is racing there for first year for her, together with a very experienced driver, Klaus Bachler, in the Porsche. She's not the only female driver racing there. Also, Rahel Frey is racing in Audi R8 LMS, and just as Carrie Schreiner, 2 very experienced drivers. Carrie, very young, 19-year-old, and she had, together with the co-driver Dennis Marshall, she already has 2 pole positions this year, but they could not finish in the position that they wanted this season. So hopefully Red Bull Ring will be more lucky for them. Rahel, coming from the ELMS round in Monza, we spoke about her in this episode, she's a great, super aggressive driver and a very competitive driver. But she's racing in a not super strong team in ADAC GT Master, so they still have to score points this year. So let's see how she can do. Of course, also together with ADAC GT Masters, there's the ADAC GT4 Championship Germany, which is in the support schedule of ADAC GT Master. In the ADAC GT4 is also interesting because there are 4 more female drivers. One is Claudia Hurtgen, very experienced and driver that has been competing since the early 90s in Germany. She was also doing Formula 3 in I think in 93, 94. So very experienced driver. She is still racing in GT4 races. And also there are 2 twins racing in the same car, in the same team. Alesia and Jacqueline Kreitz-Pointner. They are racing in a BMW from MRS Racing Molitor. The Kreutz-Pointner, it's interesting. Their father was teammate with Michael Schumacher in many years ago, and so the 2 twins are racing together. And again, it's a really interesting series. There was also Patricia Stalizzane, who is a German driver who was set to compete in a McLaren GT4. Unfortunately, Patricia will not be there. From what we know, she will not be at the Red Bull Ring because she had to put on hold her racing schedule this year due to the sponsor-related issues due to the pandemic, unfortunately. It's been a difficult season on so many levels, but hopefully Patricia will also be racing there. Unfortunately, we have also to report not so good news, as Laura Salvo, who was a co-driver in rally car. She had a crash in a rally in Portugal, and unfortunately she passed away last weekend. So very bad news to report. This one, something that we will never like to report. And it was also a very sad day, 11th of August. 7 years ago, Maria de Villota left us. Of course, the Spanish driver that had that unfortunate crash in the Marussia Formula 1 car in 2013, and following the head injuries that she had, she passed away in 2013. So we wanted to remember Maria, which was one of the pioneers really in female drivers, like 10 years ago. Now, fortunately, we are seeing more drivers coming up the ranks, but when she was racing, she was really a pioneer. And we would like to remember Maria 7 years after her passing.
Indeed, definitely Maria was one of the pioneers. I still remember where I was when the shocking news came in 2012, and then 2013. That was just so heartbreaking. And it's a very unfortunate reminder. I know the term, and that's part of racing. Like we talked earlier about the safety car coming at the wrong period, all sorts of things that could happen in racing. Unfortunately, this is one of the sad parts about racing. And with racing, anybody, whether man, woman, any gender, any age level, could compete and race. And we are thinking about Laura, Maria's family, because it's always really hard. If there's anything, of course, we know they went doing what they enjoyed doing, auto racing. They love motorsports, and they would want us to continue racing and remembering them going forward. That somber note, it's time for us to go off the air. We'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. Be sure to visit Racers, the Girls Behind the Helmet. Their website has a full calendar of all the women racing around the world. Be sure to like and subscribe. Tune in next week for next week's program, as well as all of the Grid Network's program. And we'll see you next week. Have a wonderful evening and enjoy the races.